Puerto Rico last year to collect some data with Spanish-English bilingual Puerto Rican speakers, and I was talking to one of the speakers, and I asked her, do you ever read code switches? Because people tell me that, oh, that's so natural. Nobody ever code switches when they're writing. And she told me, oh my goodness, no. We're texting all the time, and we code switch all the time when we're texting and writing to each other. And so she ended up sharing with me a whole bunch of her texts. I obviously whited out her name and everything else here, although she said, oh, you can share my name too, but it didn't seem right. And what you can see here is that, while writing, people are actually also code switching. So you see things like, but you don't need a male friend to protect you. Sure, sometimes it's good to have someone there to defend you, pero quien diga que las mujeres no se pueden defender, no conoce a mis amigas. All right? And so you see, this person is writing. She could have continued in English. She didn't. This is another one. I actually, in Puerto Rico, in one of the bathrooms, female bathroom, I actually, you know how people write on the doors? Okay, so this particular stall had a window, okay, right next to it. And she wrote, me encanta este baño porque tiene un view. Okay, because there was a view on the other side. And the best one that I found while I was in Puerto Rico is actually, I never noticed that these are little cookies that they make in Puerto Rico. And I never noticed that the actual label is code switched. So, you have 7 mantecaditos, Carla's Sweets, single snacks, 35 piezas, total weight, 21 ounces, panetela de guayaba, nutrition facts, da 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 da. So I couldn't believe it. It was the last day I was in Puerto Rico, and I was packing, and I noticed, oh my goodness, this is a product that is sold in supermarkets, and the label is code switched. So code switching is just part of our regular daily lives. Bilinguals vary, of course, in their linguistic experience with respect to how and when they're using their two languages. But code switching is a fluent alternation in bilingual speakers. It is systematic, it's not random. It emerges in some bilingual communities and not others. And the two languages of the bilingual are always active. Even when the intention to speak one language, even when bilinguals have the intention to speak one language alone. So the hypothesis has been that because bilinguals have this need to negotiate competition across the two languages, because now I need to speak English, so I need to suppress Spanish. That practice, in that skill that we develop, transcends to other aspects of cognition, so that, for example, it gives us these advantages in tasks that require switching that actually are not tasks that are linguistic, intrinsically linguistic. And so the bilinguals become, in terms of their mind, the bilingual becomes these expert jugglers, and this is a quote from my colleague Judith Kroll. So the results that are presented today then require a revision of the traditional stories about language development, about cognitive development, and about the plasticity associated with language experience. So thank you very much. Any questions? Yes.
I just wanted to ask for some clarification.
Sure.
Early in your talk, you talked about the unitary model, but all of your data suggests that there are discrete languages operating.
Well, I think that the data suggests that there are discrete languages operating because we give in a lab-based research, we give participants particular tasks that actually try to highlight one language or another. So the idea that things are unitary does not necessarily mean that they are jumbled in some way. So this is, and in fact what the neuroscience research shows is that the same areas of the brain that process one language process the other language. And so, so that supports the idea of a unitary model, but at the same time, you know, there are characteristics, linguistic characteristics that you know, are associated with one language or another. And so when you think about the pronunciation, for example, of words, or the names of words, clearly we need to be able to tag them as Spanish or English, because we need to use them, we need to bring them up and use them when we are in particular contexts. So what I'm suggesting here is that we have a system that is interconnected, but that tags languages, you know, that tags, for example, particular lexical items, so that we're able to use them. And this is what we're trying to get at here. Sure. Yes.
Hi. Could you, because your presentation is very but
Great.
say that code switching could happen with one of those two languages, because all of your examples were English.
Yeah. Yeah, yes.
German, and when I talk to my friends in German, I tend to go switch to English and
Yeah. Yeah. It is, well, we have looked mostly at bilinguals, but I know people who are trilingual, who actually, as long as the interlocutors are trilingual, oh yeah, you can see the switch happen across 3 languages. Absolutely. And it's perfectly normal, and it's quite remarkable that people do that. Yeah. Yeah, I use the example of bilinguals, but this happens with multilinguals as well. Yeah. Yes? Oh, what a good question. Do we know why code switching happens? This is my scientific answer. Because we can do it. Because we can. I mean, and you know, people will say things like, oh, bilinguals don't understand, forget a word, so they code switch into another. And that is surely part of it, but it's not the whole story. Because when you look at corpus, so when you look at bilinguals really code switching, you will hear them saying, oh, me está bothering, you know, me está fastidiando mucho. So at the same moment they're saying, me está bothering, or anda bothering me. And exactly in that same instance, they repeat themselves and they say, me está fastidiando. And so it can be about lexical access problems. It can be about, it's just that we can do it. We can do it, it's a way in which we make, you know, speech fluid, and it may be that, yeah, it's just, I mean, there is no real other answer. It's not, I can't give it a deficit answer, which is what most people have tried to do. They have tried to give it a deficit answer, and they have tried to say, oh, it's because people don't know the grammar of the 2 languages very well, people forget words. That may be some of it, but it's not the characteristic of fluid bilingual. So it's just because we can. Yeah. Thank you very much.
sessions, and that you're walking away with some things to think about as you ponder where we go from here. One of the things that I want to do is to kind of build on a comment that Nelson Flores mentioned. He talked about the fact that he challenged us to create a space where all bilingual children are celebrated. You know, when he started with that example of Princess Charlotte and so on and said, you know, in one case it's privileged and loved, and in the other case, same thing, but viewed really differently. And really what we wanted to do here with this conference was to start a conversation with you about how is it that we meet the needs of young emerging bilinguals who are around us, who are in our spaces, and so on. And so this is an invitation to think about how is it that we honor all of these children, all of their voices? How do we start to understand and not mark what they say to us in certain kinds of ways? And it is a struggle. It's not an easy one to navigate, and we're all in this room. This is a testimony to that. We're all working on that, trying to figure it out. But pulling our information together, and one of the conversations I've been having at this conference is that how it is that we can have different voices talking about different things. So you've heard about bilingualism, not just in the space of classroom spaces, but you've also heard about it in the space of laboratories and so on. All of that has something to do with one another. And I wanted to make sure that we get the fact that we have to get outside of our silos and say, well, I only like this part, or I only like this part. We have to pull all of that information together and start saying, what is it all saying to us? How are we coming to understand these young people? What is it that we still don't understand, and where do we still need to go? And I really do think it's only when we start doing that that we get closer to the mark. And so I'm really, really thankful that all of you came out to take part in this conversation with us. And I'm hoping it's not going to be a one-time event, because there will be another conference. I'm really looking forward to you bringing your colleagues, whether they're in a teaching space or at a university setting. And we also are going to continue to recruit the little ones that you saw walking around in the building. I don't know if any of you had a chance to talk with them and so on, but I had great joy in walking the halls and getting hugs and so on when you asked, did you like a session? Yes. What did you like? I like the puppets. I like, you know. What a wonderful thing to get little ones into a positive space around language. So it's not by accident we just so happen to have sessions for parents and kids. We wanted to send a message that we want these little kids to see their language learning in a different way than the way it was given to me when I was becoming a multilingual. It was always a negative thing. And so that's part of the process. One thing I wanted to mention is that we want your ideas. Although we started this conference with a group of individuals who put forward some really wonderful thoughts with this conference, we know we can build and grow when we get more information from you. Those cards, those index cards that you have, please don't leave and stick them in your bag or in your folder or what have you. Please do give them. There's a basket near the door. Make sure you do drop it in the door. There's a conference evaluation form that we're going to push out electronically. And I know all of you get way too much mail, I know. But when you get that mail, do me a favor, don't just go delete. Actually do take the time to give us some feedback, because it really does matter to us. This is how we improve and get the information that we need. Those of you who are teachers or anyone needing a certificate, this counts as 6 CEUs. Yay! It's right. And so when you leave, please make sure you take that certificate. It already notes that on the certificate, what it's worth. So you can bring that back to your district and get the credit that you really do deserve. Yes.
And just to note, the certificate is at the registration table. So where you came in and got your badge, that's where you can find the certificate.
Exactly. And I want to thank all of our vendors for the wonderful, I hope all of you had an opportunity to pass by the tables, interact with, I saw the tables being very busy, and so on. So I want to thank all of our vendors for being here and sponsoring us. I also want to make sure that Milianis connects with one of our vendors, Frank Bowden. make sure that you do get the information that you need for that license for the district. So it's with that I want to end our conference and to say that although the conference is ending, the conversation does not. We want to, at Bilingualism Matters, keep the conversation going, so please use our email address, stay in touch with us. If you have questions over the course, toward the end of the year, as you finish out your year, contact us, and we will continue to engage. So thank you for coming.